So some people like making decks with cards that are cool looking and strong. Others like making decks based on the deep lore or connection to the cards. And Ranran, well, she likes things that are cute looking, and that's okay. Because we finally have a Nanahoshi character in Yu-Gi-Oh! Go Rush. Hello everyone and welcome to Dueling with Downton, and today we're here to talk about episode 19 of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Go Rush anime series. What happened to episode 18? Well, that can wait for a later date, because today I want to talk about episode 19 because this episode was a lot of fun, despite having some disappointing elements here and there throughout the episode. We're starting off with the topic of Nanahoshi Ranran, because this girl was the girl from the ending of episode 13. And with this sort of revelation, I was a little bit conflicted. Because on the one hand, I really liked her presentation within this current episode. But I was also tricked into thinking that the girl at the end of episode 13 might be a bit more of a threat, instead of this lighthearted, comedic and lovable Ranran that we got given. So her not being more involved in the plot, or her not being more slightly sinister as an antagonist, like the tones and vibes the ending of episode 13 gave off, was a bit disappointing. However, this kind of situation did kind of feel a little bit similar to the Machine Cavalry Club when they were first introduced in Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s, because they kind of had that menacing evil aura / vibe with them, but then turned out to be less so when they finally got rolling. It's just that in this case, the Machine Cavalry Club actually did get some wins against characters that made them a bit more credible than, Nanahoshi Ranran, who was lovable, goofy, but also different than what we might have expected originally. Okay, so bad stuff over with. Ranran being this duelist that had never lost nor taken damage because her opponents were too afraid to actually get, her life points down or beat her in fear of getting into trouble because she's their boss, was a great twist that made me laugh despite being slightly predictable. I was actually thinking when she said that she never lost a duel that she'd never actually dueled before. But, also, we got a lot of great reactions from Ranran herself as she struggled to accept this truth while they're being revealed. And you know what? I'm all for it. Now, her employees being scared of her makes sense, thanks to this change of attitude that we saw happen to the character upon breaking things up with Nyanderstar. After all, while Nyanderstar and her were partners, she was shown to be very happy, very kind of enjoying her work with her partner. But then, after that, she became a lot more less approachable, and her heart became closed off because she broke things off with Nyanderstar kind of for a silly reason. She became more strict when it came to the rules, but not only with work, but also with herself. Yes, okay, the whole thing about her thinking that she could only hear Nyanderstar's voice was goofy, and the reason for the breakup was silly, but at the same time it does play into her characteristics that were shown throughout this episode anyway, but again, she's just being cute and wholesome, and can we really fault her for doing so? Another element to this episode that I really did enjoy was, even after the backstory, Nyanderstar still cared for Ranran, as Nyanderstar wanted her to be able to enjoy a proper duel instead of a duel where people just surrender cowardly because they're fearful of their jobs. So, the two once bounded still remain together as friends in this present day, and I think that's just kind of, it goes to show that yes, you can break up with people for a silly reason, but it doesn't necessarily mean that everyone involved holds a grudge or people can't change and get through that situation. Ranran's design, I thought, looked amazing. I really like it. Her personality is more like that of Ranze from Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s, the Nanaho, of course, and the hairstyle that she has with the braid to one side, I think just really suits the character, and I love the outfit that they gave the character herself as well. We do also see Ron's eyes appear on Ranran, but this time, those eyes only activate upon seeing cute monsters. So let's just hope she never sees the Rika archetype or the Melify archetype, because that would be cuteness overload and her eyes would suffer greatly. Another thing that I love seeing within this episode was Manabu's character development. This has been a while since we've seen Manabu, and I think it was cool that we actually saw him return. With the focus not really being on him all that much and it being very loosely upon Manabu, it did make me like the character even more, because we got less cat puns. And that's been one of my biggest issues with Manabu in the series so far, is that he always has a lot of those cat puns and it kind of ruins the character a little bit for me. Yes, we got a few, but we didn't get that many, so I enjoyed him. But back to the character development. We saw during the UDS versus the Waijo duel, the Manabu was slowly warming up to the UTS group, allowing them to handle the situation themselves and not interfering instead. Now then, in this episode, we learned that he hears of a group of humans going into the alien residency, and we know that people seem to think of this place as being super dangerous. So, once heard that, Manabu rushes down to basically tell UTS that they gotta leave, knowing that it's them. He was worried about UTS. Manabu was acting full tsundere within this episode. He's like, this is MIK territory, and you need to leave now. It's not like because I was worried about you or anything. Baka. I actually really liked it as well though, because Manabu, when he became caring for UTS, he was actually looking out for the aliens as well, showcasing that, you know what, he's not actually a bad guy like we might have sort of suspected MIK to be full of. Now, this isn't actually the first time that we've seen Manabu be nice to aliens as well, because he was nice to Udius in episode 2 when giving Udius that sort of pep talk and advice about tributing monsters. So, although we kind of seen this before from Manabu, it's great to see that he's sticking up for what he believes is right, and even though it's for humans or aliens, he's not discriminating against either or, he's treating them all equally and fairly. Great job, Manabu. Now, as for the monsters within this duel, seeing Ranran use the Shadow Flower monsters was a cool little nod to the archetypes that we've seen other Nanahoshi characters use as well. Because in Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s, we saw the Flower Fangs, and we saw the Ladybugs. They're all plant-type monsters, just like the monsters that Ranran used. And they all have flower/thorn-like themes behind the monster designs, which I thought were great as well. Blanc de Blanc, the Snow Shadow Flower, was actually a really okay-looking monster. It's nothing like Flower Fang Konoichi and Trancer, because that monster is just far better looking and better acting in terms of monsters used by the Nanahoshi, and is of course my favourite monster within Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s, or Rush Duels I should say. So yeah, might be biased on that one, but at the same time, I'm interested to see what new cards Ranran is going to use moving forward, because I feel like her deck is like really weak at the minute, but now that she's had this like first experience of a proper true duel, I reckon she's going to improve and get some better cards when she finally duels for the second time in the future. Manabu's new ace monster also looked awesome and had a great effect that if used in the right time could be deadly for your opponent. So then we've seen the ace monsters given to Yuumu, Yuhi and Manabu's trial decks that were kind of shown to be releasing soon in the Rush Dueling format. Now they've all appeared in the anime, and it makes sense that these ace monsters are as good as they are. However, I feel like they're way better than the original ace monsters that our protagonists have actually, shown at the start of the series. It does make sense you want to kind of develop your protagonists as monsters, because you don't want them being like super weak throughout the series, but at the same time, it leaves me wondering, why would you have a monster like Joint Tech Rex when this flip effect dinosaur monster that Yuki used in episode 18 is, in my opinion, a lot better? The obvious answer is for back row removal, but still, like, these new ace monsters that we're seeing the characters used just look so much better and just are better in general. And finally, did we get a Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's reference? Because if you remember, Yusei was in a prison facility in where he met a big tall gentleman with spiky hair and a kind of reddish dark jacket with a black t-shirt underneath. Now in this very episode we saw an alien with some fuzzy crazy hair wearing a red jacket with a black t-shirt underneath. And we know that this Colosseum that they're currently in is kind of a place where they store criminals too. So, could that have been a 5Ds reference? Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. So overall, I really like this episode and I can't wait to see what the next episode gives us, as the ending of this episode showcased a blonde hooded character entering the series, saying, "What do you want with my Rovin?" Could that "my" be implying that there's a relationship happening between the two characters? Or could it just be that she's a bit overprotective of Rovin? Now, of course, we know Rovin is probably going to be the kind of leader of this kind of area full of roving bandits that we saw. You know, the area with the big skull in the background that our heroes are trying to get into. Anyway, I'm hoping to see from this blonde character in the next episode, when she's dueling, some kind of really crazy, over-the-top expressions that might make her out to be very overprotective, very crazy and unhinged. That's the kind of vibes I'm getting. Let me know your thoughts on it in the comments down below. But at the same time, I hope you've enjoyed this review. If you have, hit that like button. Let me know what you think of Ranran and the episode in general as well. Love to hear your thoughts. I really like the character. She's one of my favourites, but not my favourite in Go Rush so far. She's probably top 3. Anyways, have a great day. Alligator, matane. Goodbye.